Very, very happy to be back this morning on your favorite Good Morning Africa program, which analyze issues, which bring you the latest happenings in the country and of course around the world. We are very much happy to be back here to discuss pertinent issues in the country. And in this today's show, we have very interesting stuff like we always have for you. And getting in jeopardy for si anda bi ngeen anda si ñun si Good Morning Africa programme bi ñu leen naan nuyu di leen dalalaat fii si beneen édition yi Good Morning Africa programme bi seen morning show bi la xam ngeen rek comme nuñ ko dee baaxoo di defee saa su ne rek suñ si Good Morning Africa programme bi dañ leen dee andi leen loo xam ne moo dee xew si réew mi fii ak si bitim réew ñu faram fàcceel leen ko ba mu set wicc ñu andi leen analysis yoo xam ne dañ interesting always tamit dañ leen dee andil guest fii si studio bi waaye suñ leen andilutee guest tamit dañ leen dee make sure ne len andi rek ngeen digest ko ngeen understand ko you know ngeen jàngee si lu bari because ñun luñ munti andi rek si stories luñ munti andi rek da ngeen dee munti jàngee si stories yooyu noonu so comme nuñ ko dee baaxoo di defee saa su ne rek si Good Morning Africa programme bi tey tamit nag dañ leen fasa andi pour stories yoo xam ne dañ am solo tey am nañ lañ fi National Assembly stories bi boo xam ne GDC dañ expel guys seen naam si dinañ leen andil tamit di same National Assembly Tuuma Njie moom nag dafa mu ne dafa somoon fisheries minister bi mu ne pour mu ñëw foofu noonu mu wax gaay lan moo nekk si di xew si bërëb boo xam ne foofu lañ nekk di nappee jën and of course andil nañ leen fi police case tamit foo xam ne Gambia Police Force guys seen Operation Zero Crime bi gaay ñu ngi nemmeeku dëkk bi pour jël yoo xam ne daal arrest di suspects or criminals yoo xam ne gaay ñu ngi def loo xam ne ñaawteef si biir réew mi fii dinañ leen andil tamit yooyu ak lu bari si Good Morning Africa programme bi waaye nag bu leen dem fen di ngeen witness all that, so let's stay with us. Thank you so very much. We have the National Assembly. We know that the GDC expelled its 2 National Assembly members, in Banjul at the National Assembly chambers. We will bring you that latest update. We will also bring you the National Assembly member for Banjul South, Tuuma Njie, who summoned the Minister of Fisheries to come and talk about the disastrous, happenings in the fishing coastline in the Gambia here. And of course, we will bring you Operation Zero Crime, where the Gambia Police Force arrested some individual who are involved in stealing and other, activities in the country. These and more coming on the Good Morning Africa program. Do stay tuned, and then we will digest everything for you. With that, we start with our first story. The Operation Zero Crime West Coast Region Patrol Team has on Tuesday paraded a suspect with some stolen items at the Banjul Police Station. The suspect, who reportedly used a minor as an informant, was arrested with some suspected stolen items and is being charged with sub-breaking and stealing. More of that in this report by our Binta Jallo.
On Tuesday, a suspect by the name Amadou Jallo was paraded by the West Coast Region Patrol Team at the Banjulunding Police Station. He is suspected to have stolen items from a shop that he has broken into. The items include perfumes, bags, chargers, some clothes and other valuables. The suspect was arrested with a bag of stolen properties, which he was subjected to a diligent investigation leading to the uncovering of a sub-breaking case. The police probe further discovered that he had hidden some other items at a bunker somewhere in his residence. The officers also intercepted 3 motorcycles, which are also suspected to be stolen properties, according to the public relations officer, Superintendent Njie. A 14-year-old was also arrested, and he is said to be an alleged criminal informant.
We have a young minor with us here. We will definitely not call the name or or show the person, but actually it's important for the public to know the reason why we are having this person. He has revealed to the police that he has been used by some adults, some criminal rings, to lay surveillance on people. What he does is sometimes he goes to the bank and observe people who withdraw a lot of cash from the bank, then he will follow them. If he knows where they have entered or the areas they have visited, then he will transmit this information to those gangs, and eventually they will find their way to that particular compound or location.
Superintendent Njai urged the general public to be vigilant.
The reason why we are saying this is for people to be vigilant at all times. If you find yourself in a bank, if you park your car, or if you are in your house and you see some innocent kid around you, you should be able to sympathize and empathize, but equally be very vigilant, because we may not know if he is one of those individuals.
The Commissioner of West Coast Region, Pati Jallo, said they are doing their best to save lives and properties, but hastened to call on the general public to assist the police in the execution of the Operation Zero Crime. Commissioner Jallo also highlighted some of their challenges.
On this Operation Zero Crime, and at the same time to help the police in protecting life and properties, to come forward with information and to make use of the numbers that have been displayed in the way that it is called for, because some calls sometimes are very unwarranted. You cannot be calling people overnight telling them certain issues which at the end of the day that can tantamount to discouraging the people or so forth, because at some point somebody did call that the person is been stabbed somewhere in Westfield when it is not true. So those are things, the challenges that we sometimes face. But as far as I am concerned and the police force is concerned, under the leadership of the Inspector General of Police, who is Ablai Sanyang, nothing can distract us and nothing can intimidate us. We will always work hand in glove with the other sister services to make sure everybody's life is protected. Thank you.
Lamin Jai called on the general public who might recognize the motorcycles to go to Banjulindin police station to help the police in the identification process. Since the launch of Operation Zero Crime, significant arrests have been registered by the Gambia Police Force. The operation, initiated by the Inspector General of Police, is meant to target criminal hubs within the Greater Banjul and the West Coast region. The objective of the move is to tackle crime and criminal activities within communities and to dismantle all criminal hideouts, as well as prosecute offenders in accordance with the law. For iAfrica News, Binte Jallo.
Binta Jallo, thank you so much for that report. It was very, very important that, things are now very complicated in this country. Crime rates, people are saying that it is skyrocketing by the day, and now that minors are involved, which makes it very, very serious. Using minors for criminal activities, it is uncalled for, and people should not venture in such activities, because minors, children are the future leaders of this country and any country. So, we should groom them and nurture them in the best possible way we can, but not to use them, to venture into criminal activities, which is uncalled for, and the police are doing their utmost best to making sure that they capture these individuals and these criminals who are venturing in such activities. Kids should be protected, and I think it's the utmost responsibility of everybody, including the parents, the schools, the teachers, the society at large. We should all endeavor to protect these children from any harmful practices or any dangers that might come in their way, because these are minors. They don't know what they're doing. Most of them, if they venture in this thing at the early stage, if they grew up with that will cause a lot of problem in society. And before it gets out of hand, people should come together, especially parents. They should be very vigilant about the whereabouts of their children. Take care of your children. Make sure that they are, going with the right people, with the right company. Don't just let your children be roaming about everywhere, and then at the end of the day, you might not know what they are involved in. Imagine a 14-year-old teenager involved in a criminal activity. That is really shocking, and that child should be going to school. That child should be venturing in other activities which would be beneficial to him and of course the society at large, but not to engage in criminal activities. Li mu nekk loo xam ne daal dafa doy waar torop xale bu ndaw nga nekk engage sa bopp si criminal activities te ñu ko def nag xale bi daanaka nit bu naa wax ne xamul dara waaye ñu ko nekk di bàyyil wala di dugal xale boobu noonu pour mu dugal si yooyu noonu mu nekk as an informant pour nit ñi mun a dem sàcca nit ñi mun a dem break shops mun a dem si banques yi di sàcca nit ñi loolu dafa nekk loo xam ne dafa doy waar torop te nit ñi dañ si war a bàyyi seen xel surtout waajur yi nañ xam seen doom yi fu nekk na waajur yi toog ak seen doom yi waxtaan ak seen doom yi loolu dafa am solo torop bu jul sa doom rek nga bàyyi ko noonu fu mu nekk ni dëkk bi oratut àdduna bi sax fu mu nekk ni moo séevatut toog leen ak seen doom yi ngeen waxtaan ak gaay soo leen gisee ne gaay ñu ngi ànda ñoo xam ne waruñoo ànda ak gaay ngeen génnee loolu si gaay balaa moo affaire yi di rombali wala balaa affaire yi di serious so loolu dafa nekk loo xam ne dafa am solo torop nit ñi nañ bàyyi seen xel xale yi fu mu nekk ni kenn óoluwaatut even léegi fu mu nekk ni suñ tolloo foo xam ne xale yi sax nit ñi mënuñoo óoluwaat gaay kon loolu noonu dafa doy waar so xam naa ne ñun ñëpp am nañ si wàlla society bi am nañ si wàlla waajur yi am nañ si wàlla teachers yi am nañ si wàlla media bi tamit am nañ si wàlla police yi am nañ si wàlla ñu yëpp nañ dem def suñ kenti lay kattan pour make sure ne ñu aar ndaw yi ñu make sure ne gaay ñu ngi safe te ñu make sure ne gaay seen future bi mu ngi secure pour gaay mun a am a better future for themselves and of course for the country. With that we move on to our next story because the Ministry of Health has reminded Gambians that the enforcement of the Tobacco Control Act 2016 and Tobacco Control Regulation 2019 is still in force. In a press release, the ministry noted with concern over the law compliance among the public, despite numerous efforts to raise awareness on the dangers of tobacco use. Naisise tells us more.
Tobacco industry intervention remains a critical component that undermines and delays tobacco control interventions, as well as tobacco tax reform process in the Gambia. According to the Gambia Tobacco Industry Mapping Report, the country has one of the strongest tobacco control laws in Africa, with 100% smoking-free provisions that prohibit smoking in all public places. Despite these laws and regulations, the Health Ministry said there is a low compliance rate among the public.
The ministry has noted with concern the low compliance rate among the public and institutions in spite of the numerous radio, television, and community engagement programs conducted to sensitize the public on the law and regulations. In addition to the public sensitization programs, the Deputy IGP, on behalf of the IGP, also made a televised statement on the 12th.
Tobacco companies are not as significant as they claim to be as far as the country's economy is concerned. The report proved that they often exaggerate the tax they pay and the number of staff under their payroll. Therefore, their claims are found misleading and false. Despite the progress registered, financial resources to support tobacco control efforts in the Gambia are very limited. As a result, experts say more effort is needed to strengthen Tobacco Control Act and regulations in the country. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Tobacco, and tobacco. We have been talking about the issues of tobacco and related matters in this country for God knows how long. And still now is the same issue. Many critics of the government would tell you that the government of the Gambia, they are not doing their job because, now you see people smoking everywhere. And the Tobacco Control Act 2016 and Regulation 2019 ban people from smoking in public places, but wherever you go in this country, even in vehicles, imagine, people do smoke there. And if you complain, most of the times what comes out of their mouth is really something that is really serious. They even tell you that, is it your business? You better mind your business. Am I disturbing you? This is my life and all that. And all those things are uncalled for. And people should be vigilant. People should be mindful of the things they're doing. And oftentimes in this country, people just do things because they want to do it, especially if it is public thing. People don't care about the welfare of others. You smoke in public place, you're harming. Second-hand smoking is very dangerous, and statistically it has killed thousands and thousands of people worldwide. It's not a surprise, but people smoke anyhow. They smoke everywhere, in public places, in hospitals, in schools, in shops, everywhere, in markets. People just smoke virtually everywhere, and it is uncalled for. And we just hope that now that it is coming from the the relevant authorities, they will take a step towards that, making sure that people are not smoking in these places. And I even had that one shopkeeper complaining the other time, telling us that now people are not selling cigarettes that much is because the importation of cigarettes now, it's you only sell it in bulk, you don't sell it like in one species. But I think these are all mechanisms towards making sure that there is an end to tobacco use in this country. I know it's going to be very, very difficult, but with persistence, with determination, with dedication, things will really be successful. Tobacco, you know, people are not telling you that smoking kills. Even it is written on the packs of every cigarette or every tobacco. It is written there clearly, tobacco kills. So you see that, and with all that you're embarking on smoking, well, it means you don't mean well for yourself. But with all that, do not harm others. Even if you know that you cannot abstain from smoking, but come on, it is your utmost responsibility to make sure that you save others around you, protect them. But not just doing things because you want to do them, doing things because you don't care, or you are doing things because no one is going to do anything about it. I think loolu noonu dafa nit ñi dañ war a bàyyi seen xel si loolu torop foo dem fu mu nekk ni si dëkk bi nit ñi ñu ngi you know, ñi ñu ngi tux si mbedda yi, ñi ñu ngi tux si marché yi, si moto yi, you know, si school si foo munti dem rek di nga gis ñi ñu ngi tux. Even sometimes sa apprentice yi dañoo nekk di tux si biir moto bi soo waxee gaa tontu la loo xam ne daal rubbish la, wala gaa even saaga la si loolu, wala ñeneen dañ laa wax ne sax soo bëggut loolu nga wàcc suma moto bi. So loolu noonu dafa nekk loo xam ne daal duñu jàppale as dëkk, duñu jàppale as réew. So dañ war a bàyyi suñu xel si yooyu noonu torop. buñ toog rek lu nekk ñu ne nguur bi, lu nekk ñu ne nguur bi. Sometimes ñun tamit as citizens dañ am responsibility, dañ am suñ own wàlla pour make sure ne ñu jàppalante, ñu dimbalante, ñu dëkk bi mun a dem si kanam. Nguur bi rek du ko mun a def, fo ñu jàppalante, ñu ñëw pour just toog rek nga ne ok kenn mënu si def dara, wala lii suma life la dama def lu ma munti ne. Dëgg la sa life la, dëgg la you know, mun ngaa def lu la neex si sa life, but then make sure ne nga protectal ñeneen yi. Sometimes second hand smoking tamit mu fa, yow yaa ngi smoke, keneen ki mun sa boor nekkul si smoke, waaye loolu noonu lu mu nekk di inhale, lu mu nekk di dugal foofu noonu, loolu mun na koo rey, mun na koo jural lu bari. So ñi dañ war a bàyyi xel si loolu noonu, bu ñu xool rek ok lii suma life la, mun naa def lu ma ne, wala kenn munu si def dara. Te nguur gi tamit gars yi comme ñu ngi def seen tenti lay kattan nag, waaye comme ñu ne fas lu munti daw rek danga ko war a caw pour mu yokk a daw. Nguur gi tamit dañ war a you know, tighten this issue of tobacco. Gaa ñu ngi ko doon wax fii depuis God knows when, depuis 2015 wala 2010 gaa ñu ngi wax ne the campaign against you know tobacco use in this country, gaa ñu regulations yi and all that, they are very important. All these regulations are very good, but if they are not enforced, there is no use. It's next to nothing, you know. And I think it's high time people start you know making use of these regulations, especially the government. Let them enforce some of these regulations in this country, so that you know at least people will learn from this. People will not know that the government of the Gambia, they're very serious of what they are really calling for. I think that is very important. If you really if they really enforce this Tobacco Control Act 2016 and the regulations 2019. With that, we move on to our next story. The recent increment in the prices of meat has raised a great concerns for Gambians, especially ordinary citizens. Cattle traders and butchers blame one another for the sudden low production of meat in the country, resulting to hike in prices of meat. Our reporter Khadijatu Seka visited the butchers and cattle traders, and she now files in this report.
The Gambia remains a predominantly agricultural country as far as employment is concerned. The livestock production sector plays a pivotal role in the country's GDP. But despite its contribution, people who are engaged in cattle trading travel to either Senegal, Mali or other countries in the sub-region to buy ruminants with only few from the Gambia. The fluctuating exchange rates are considered to be one of the challenges by the cattle traders, locally known as jewelers and the butchers. In an interview with iAfrica TV, parties blame one another for the low meat production in the country.
When
the butchers come for the cattle, whatever amount you tell them, they will agree, because they are not paying in cash. When they sell the cattle, they will take out their expenditures and tell you that your cattle has lost a profit of 2,000, 3,000 or even 5,000. You wouldn't able to do anything, because if you take them to court, you will add more frustration on yourself, but you won't get justice.
But for Daruba, a cattle trader, the problem is as a result of government's lack of support to the traders.
ñun jafe-jafe bi nga xam ne moom lañ nekkee tey boo demee ci Sénégal tey
The difficulties that we are in today, for instance, when you go to Senegal, their traders work with the government. I said so because the African Development Bank and Agriculture are the ones that use their money and resources to fund their traders. When merchandise is plentiful, there is likely to be losses. But here, the government would never help the poor. Since last year, they brought money saying it is the traders' money. We have been following it with them since last year, but we are yet to receive anything. This is how they will do until the project money is finished.
In response, Yahya Jammeh, a butcher, explained the reason why they are being accused of not paying their debts in full.
Nga lebal nit ki nak dang koy lebal ci lu jaadu mu jaay ko ci lu jaadu delal ko ci lu jaadu mais so ma lebalé nak.
If you give your cattle to someone for loan, you should make it in a proper way so that if he sells it, you can get back your money. But if you are giving me the cattle for $35,000, how will I make profit? It won't be easy. Give it to me at a reasonable price. When I sell it, I will also give you back your money. That is why it is difficult. You will buy a cattle for a price and at an interest rate which is very difficult for us. We will have to take it because this is our job. If the cattle is 30,000, but you sell it at 40,000, so if a butcher agrees to take it, in most cases, he would owe you some money.
Ibrahim Gates stated that the high price involved in the sales of the ruminants is sometimes responsible for their losses.
The problem bi moy price yu ñu dé jaay price yu ñu dé jaay boucher yi price yoy nonu ya du dé génné nak bi du ko dé génné.
The problem is the price in which they normally sell to the butchers is usually not the price of the cattle. So if the cattle should cost $40,000, they will rather sell it for $50,000. So if the butcher does not have that kind of money to buy the cattle, then you will have to take it as a loan. And if you do so, you won't make profit at all. So if you give the cattle owner $10,000, it will be definitely a problem. So the only thing you can do is to refund him the actual amount of the cattle without any interest. Even that, the cattle owner will still think you ate his money. This is why the butchers who have money normally buy in cash. That's what I normally do.
They call on the government to come to their aid and to help them revive their businesses. Justice delayed, they say, is justice denied. The cattle traders also urge the justice sector to speed up and consider their cases that are still pending in the courts. Karigatu Seka, iAfrican News.
Cattle traders blame butchers for low production of meat feed. I'll blame them mufineka. And oftentimes in the country, when things occur or when things happen, people normally blame one another, telling them that this is where the problem lies, instead of finding a solution to the problems. And I think that is really not helping us as a people, as a country. I think we should really stay away from that. Comme affaire yapa on dawal dafa nekk loo xam ne am na solo torop waaye fu mu nekk nii léegi ba doole mënuñoo am ndawal mënuñoo lekk ndawal mënuñoo lekk jën léegi Gambien bi daal comme dafa doy waar lekkatuñ jën lekkatuñ ndawal léegi ñuñ daal lan la ñoo lekk comme suma benn cousin lu waxoon mu ne léegi nañ dellu si our traditional meals moo nekk durango futti lacciri and others because fu mu nekk nii daal dara lu munti laa rek dafa expensive diw dafa expensive pot bi $18 or is I even telling you is $20 you know fu mu nekk nii yàppa tamit kilo bi suñ la caajee nga daw you know ñeneen ñu ngi wax $275 ñeneen ñu ngi wax even léegi am àgg na $300 so mu nekk loo xam ne daal dafa doy waar torop I think dañ war a dimbalante as Gambians loo xam ne daal mboolem loo xam ne daal ñu ngi ko béy si dëkk bi ñu jàppalante bu mel ni comme loo xam ne dañ ko export dañ ko import ñu andi ko si dëkk bi nañ ko yombalal yomba boo xam ne lay Gambian bi dina ko mun a dañ soo mun a njëriñoo nga njëriñ nga am si sa profit te doo lor yeneen Gambian si waaye fu nekk nii daal luñ nekk di béy si dëkk bi sax moo gën a expensive loo xam ne sax ñun suñ boppa ñu ngi ko ñëw import so you know dafa doy waar nañ jàppalante ñi lii ñu ñoo ko dëkk bi ñoo ko moom gis nga kenn du mun a jógee dëkk mu de jàpp dëkk bi wala mu develop suñ dëkk bi ñuy rek ñoo ko mun a ñuy rek ñoom ñoo ko mun a develop. So it's better you develop ko. It's high time. Countries are moving, you know. If we are not moving, that is our own cup of tea. But then we really have to do something about this country. The prices of basic commodities is on the increase. The prices of meat is on the increase. The prices, whatever you touch in this country, is on the rise. And I think, the government have their share, but individuals also have their own share. We as citizens of this country, we have our own role to play, and we ought to play those roles if we really want to make this country to move forward. We cannot just shift the blame game to the government. It's true, they have a bigger role to play, but then we also have a role to play. Something like something like fish in this country should not be that expensive. 2-3 fish, you charge someone for $50 or $100. It's uncalled for, man. It's very expensive. How do you expect Gambians to afford that? So I think we really need to help one another if we really are serious in the development of this country. With that, we move on. We have a lot of things to talk about. It's very important, it's very pertinent, and we as a media institution, we are going to make follow-up to this to make sure that, we come to terms and we find a lasting solution to the things that are happening in this country. Because iAfrica, that is our main priority, in making sure that we bring not only information to the people, but making sure that we find also solution to those problems. How? By engaging stakeholders, the necessary stakeholders that are involved in making sure that they provide solutions to the problems happening in this country. We move on, because during his yearly tour to military posts across the country, personnel of Yangon military posts have lamented lack of water and electricity as a major hindrance to their daily activities to better serve the people of the surroundings. CDS Drame, however, told them that everything is determined by availability of funds, but promised to provide water as soon as possible. Details in this report.
The Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Yakuba Drame, was received by Commanding Officer of the Nyungun Military Base, Major Jenaba Sane, and the village community elders on Monday afternoon. Both the community and the military post in Nyungun village in the North Bank region of the country cried out to the military boss on the lack of electricity and scarcity of water to perform even a basic performance. During his previous visit to the camp, the CDS says he had made numerous follow-up calls to the company to look into the matter. CDS promised both the community of Nyungun and the military camp that they will have access to water as soon as possible.
Remember, everything is determined by the availability of funds. And that is why my interaction with you, usually, I'm not tempted to make unwarranted promises. I want to tell you what I can do. If I give you my word, be assured that will be done. Today I was told about water. Last year the water was not a problem. But I can give you my word, that would be solved. Within 1 month, I don't expect you to go and fetch water. I can give you my word.
Lieutenant General CDS Drame also discourages soldiers from taking part in political rallies or campaigns as officers of the armed forces. But he was quick to recognize that the men and women in uniform have the right to vote in any election as long as they are eligible.
As a fine institution like the military, we cannot afford to take part in politics. I've said it to you the last time, and I want to repeat myself today again. I will not partake in politics. If I cannot participate in politics, what would cause you to participate in politics? Let's stay away from politics. Let's not get ourselves involved in politics.
Tree planting exercise was also conducted by the Army Chief and other officials of his entourage. This is his second tour of military camps since he was appointed as Chief of Defense Staff to steer the affairs of the Gambia Armed Forces. Reporting for iAfrica News from Farafenni, I am Mariama Cham.
All right, Mariama Cham, she's currently with a tour with the CDS and, military personnel. And it's very important, our military personnel are doing their utmost best, but the basic ought to be provided to them, like water, like electricity, and other things that will help them in their work. And I think that is very important that the CDS made a commitment to provide water for them, which is a laudable initiative there. With that, we move on. Time, it's not on our side. We would have loved to make analysis on that. We have to move on because I'm talking about Sino Majilak Jalbak. Yesterday it came, and it's people are wondering, what does it really mean? This mining company, how do they intend to do that now that a lot of people are actually, a lot of issues happen with regards to mining in this company. But let's go on with the story, because Sino Majilak Jalbak is now a sand mining company located at the Denton Bridge along the Banjul Highway, focusing on sand mining without causing environmental disasters. In an interview with iAfrica TV, the public relations officer of the company explains the intervention as a necessity and better option to the regular forms of mining. Aminda tells us more.
Sand mining being the extraction of sand from various land and water bodies such as the beach, inland dunes, and riverbed is a vibrant industry as no infrastructural development can go entirely behind it. So the demand for sand continues to grow as a valuable resource for construction. Few years on the line of history, the coastal line of certain places and their unique sand dunes were the only source of sand for the construction industry in the Gambia. This is known to have resulted in serious environmental problems such as land degradation, loss of agricultural lands, and biodiversity. Sino Majilak Jalbak, as a new sand dredging company, chose to take a little different path, heading towards the deep sea as the center of its mining activities. Bankamani, the public relations officer of the company, says the project was set up in response to the demand of the population for quality sand for construction without posing any environmental risk.
Sand is one of those commodities in this country that is badly needed. I mean, the construction in this country is booming. I mean, there's a huge amount of construction going on. And sadly, over the years, you know, the kind of mode of accessing the sand has not been really the best, you know, process. The environmental disaster that has unfolded is no news to nobody, so I don't want to dwell on that. But after the Faraba incident, the founders of the company felt the need to really create a company like this, where we can be able to provide these facilities in the country without the kind of disaster that has been unfolding over the years.
Even though the company has its own truck drivers to deliver the sand for the customers, buyers are allowed to use their own transport services for reduced prices.
We have our own trucks here, as you can see, and if anybody is interested in sand, they can always call us, and our agents are on standby to respond to any questions that they might have. We also have you know, truck drivers out there, or trucking companies, if you will, who are also on the standby in case somebody needs to order it through them, they can. But then we have our own trucks also. So the public is welcome to come with their own trucks, is what I meant. And we have our own trucks to also provide the sand if they need us to also fulfill that need for them.
The PRO of Sino Majilak Jalbak took some time to explain their mode of demand and supply with respect to pricings.
The size, we don't sell by truck size, even though that's how it's communicated most of the time in the country. We sell the sand by cubic meters. So $650 per cubic meter, which if you put it in the local lingo, it's terms, it's called wheel. So the 10 wheel, for instance, which is a truck that they call the 10 wheel, is supposed to be the 10 cubic meters. So, and that 10 cubic meter, basically, if you multiply the 650 by 10, that's $6,500 for the 10 cubic meter, for that 10 wheeler. And so that's excluded in transportation. So if you bring your own truck, you can get sand out of here for $6,500. During the rains here, everybody knows sand can be very expensive. But our effort is also to make sure that's stabilized and keep the prices as reasonable as possible.
In one aspect, the sand mining company is new in terms of existence and new in terms of the venture in deep sea and sand mining. It operates with about 20 employees who are mainly Gambian in different operational positions.
Sino Majilak Jalbak is a sand dredging company
at the verge of providing sand to the Gambians. The company started this project 2 years ago with the aim of providing sand to the people without destroying the environment, and to stop them from crying over their land degradation due to sand mining. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Sino Majilak Jalbak. It's a new name in the mining industry, and many people are wondering, how will they really do that? How will they avoid environmental diseases in this country? Well, all your worries will be answered today. All your questions will be answered because I am with the CEO of the company. Good morning, Mr. Banka, and welcome to the Good Morning Africa program.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. Actually, I'm the
public relation officer. Pardon me for that. I was excited. You know, when you talk about averting environmental disasters, I was wondering, how do they intend to do that? You know, when many problems occurred here, the Faraba incident and others, all of that is due to mining issues in the country here. But we will get to that. I am also here with my favorite friend, Nyang Balo. Good morning, naka suba si? Yaa ngi okay?
Yeah, you ngi okay, yeah, Ibrahim.
Jërëjëf. I love that name, you know. Yes, Mr. Banka, I just want you to tell us, what does Majilak Jalbak mean? I mean, many people are wondering, what is behind that name?
I know the name kind of sounds a little long, but because the company is actually a partnership. So it's one of those things where you have several companies that partnered. Obviously, you have some that have majority ownership or higher ownership than others, but then they are all partners. Okay. So the Sino is one company, Majilak is one other company. Wow. A lot of people may have heard of Majilak though, because there's a butchery on Karaba Avenue called Majilak, and that's the same company that is also a partner in this. And Jalbak is also another company that's a partner in this. Jalbak, actually, that one should be, well, we have to guess it, but it's Jali and Bakau. So because the owner of that company is originally from Jali but was born in Bakau. So
wow.
Interesting. Yeah, so he's calling it Jali and Bakau. So that's Jalbak.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You pledge to avert to mine without causing any environmental disasters. I mean, how do you intend to do that? What do people have to offer that other companies, mining companies, are not having?
Yes, and that's why generally we don't at Sino Majilak we don't even use the word mining, because when in this country when you say sand mining, it really evokes very unpleasant feelings, if you will, because of what has happened over the years to the coast. So we are in the dredging business because we dredge sand. We don't, yes, because these are two different processes. One literally goes to the sand dunes that are formed on the coast. They go and literally eviscerate all those sand dunes. And when they are finished doing that, which is what has happened, then they go digging more and more and more and more and more. This one is different. We have a huge amount of sand deposit in our sea, on the coast. Huge amount of sand deposit in the sea. Now, if you remember, years ago, Banjul was threatened by water. In fact, the cemetery was pretty much gone to some extent. And they had to bring in a Dutch company to dredge the coast over there to help mitigate the damage. And through that dredging, they were able to push the sea inward and mitigate the kind of mess that was created. Now, ours is the same process. Literally, we are using the same machines. That's why when we first arrived here, the Port Authority asked us to dredge the ports for them, so the big ships can be able to finally dock at the baths. And when we got finished doing that, the big ships are finally able to do that. So all the big boats that could not are now doing that. So that process is what we are using again. So because of the requirement, after that dredging back in those days by the Dutch, a study was done actually during that time. And the recommendation was not only that area should be dredged, but the whole coastal area of Banjul coming towards especially Denton Bridge area, should be dredged also, because of the environmental disaster that this sand was posing. So when we decided to do this, we were asked to go to that area because of the sand deposit there to be able to remove it. So we are there to remove the sand, and so when we dredge the sand, we literally pour it out on the banks, on land, and then that sand is what we are marketing out to the Gambian people. So it's doing several things. One is helping to take care of an existing problem, that is the sand deposits that's already in the water over there. And number two, it's going to stabilize the price. And that's one thing we don't usually talk about, but I think it's important now that we are marketing this thing, we tell people the benefits. The rainy season is coming, and so most of these existing areas where they used to dig sand most likely will become inaccessible. And we all know, and everybody's familiar with this, during the rainy season, sand in this country is very, very expensive, becomes very expensive. With us, the price remains the same. We make sure that we keep it at the same price.
Which is?
Well, the sand, here is how it works. It's $650 is per cubic meter. Now, people call that wheel. Yeah, so they will say 10 wheel or how many wheels. So the 10 wheel from us is $6,500, excluding the transportation. Now, depending on where you are taking it, if it is the Banjul areas, it might end up costing you at the most $8,500 or $8,000 in some places. So in the end, including transportation. Now in the rainy season, we understand sand can go up to that 10 cubic meter or 10 wheel, as they call it, could go up to 12,000 or more. Not with us. It's still going to remain the same. So, and it's going to be available.
Right. So that is the assurance you're giving to the Gambian people.
Absolutely. We intend to keep it that way. If somebody else goes and sells it out at a different price, that's on them. Us at Sino Majilak, it's going to remain that price. We are not taking it $1 off.
Yeah, you did mention that you people are not mining, but you're dredging. As a result, you're helping to avert some of the environmental disasters that are predicted, especially around the Banjul coastline. But how about other species that are inside the waters? Are you not causing any harm to them?
That's a very, very good question. You see, fish usually, they survive on the sediments that are in the water, especially the mud and stuff like that. This area has so much huge sand deposit that it's not really conducive for fish life. If you notice, people don't go fishing in those areas because there is no fish. You might catch one here and there, but there is no booming fish life over there because of, again, this. But when you remove the sand, the expectation is that you will have mainly mud. And because the fish can now, they survive on this mud. And when you also disturb the floor, it creates this commotion. And that commotion kind of brings out all the mud that is underneath also there. Also, in other words, you will have some kind of nutrients being part of that whole commotion, that chaos. Instead of them just sitting in one place, now all of a sudden you are pulling them out in the form of the shaking that is happening. So hopefully that's going to attract fish to finally find food and something, so we might get them to come, or even survive and exist in that area. Because there, even boats cannot navigate. If you go and stand on Denton Bridge, if you look on the right-hand side going to Banjul, you will see boats there. But if you look on the left, you will not see boats. You can look all the way. There might be one or two boats you will see sitting there on the floor, on the other side. Because I think there are a couple of guys who like to go out once in a while, but they sit there and wait for high tides. And when even that high tide comes, there are areas that they cannot venture to. So people just don't have boats there. They don't venture there because of the sand deposit. So once we do all these things, hopefully in the future, people can be able to, boats can go there, fish life can come back. A whole lot of other benefits can come through that. That's expectation. Now, with environment, anytime you disturb it, it causes some issue. Now, but here what we are looking at, we are hoping that we are not causing any more damage or any more problems than what is already happening right now. Because the status quo, this is not good for our country.
And we understand that you use machines to dredge this sand from the sea. Yes. How about the oil that is on the machines? Will it not spill over in the coast, causing environmental damages? I mean, all these are concerns that people are having.
That's a very, very good question, because it's good to ask all these environmental questions so that people understand how it works. This is a vessel, And the vessel, the way it works is the oil doesn't have quote unquote these oil spills or anything of that nature. I mean, because if the oil is spilling, then that means we are having a leakage which is going to break our machine. So which we will not allow. So if not for anything else, at least even in our own interest, there is no reason to allow oil spill to take place from these machines. So really, that is a non-issue because there is no oil spill. And the process through which we dredge this sand, there is no chemicals or anything like that that's been used. It's all just literally ocean water and the sand. Because when it pours the sand out, it obviously comes with some, with the ocean, oil, water. And when that gets kind of drained back into the sea. So and so that's the process right there.
Okay. I'll get back to you. Nyang, yow teew nga fa woon si compagnie bi gis nga foofu noonu lan nga ñu mën a andil loo xam ne daal yow danga ko observal sa bopp si compagnie bi.
waaw ñun liñ fa gis mooy ne nekk na lu ko xam ne ni lu am solo la si askan bi. because comme nu mu ko waxee mbiri suuf lu métti la fii si Gambia soo ko bëggee mun nga wax ne line sax ngay def pour nga am ko te balaa nga koo am jafe-jafe yi daf si dee bari seconde li seer na ba ëpp soo ñoom nuñ ñëwee noonu dégg nga price yi mu la wax moo gën a yomb sax yeneen yi nga xam ne ñu ngi ko yooyu leen am si biir réew mi fii ñaareel bi mooy ne fii toxal nañ béréb yu bari fu ñu daan tibbee suuf wane ne baaxul dafa gën a indi géej bi si suñ kanam soo loolu itam lu mat a bàyyi xel la moo tax ñu ngi leen di toxal fii jëlee leen fi fu ñu doon tibbee bu njëkk ay budget yooyu amatu fa dañ leen fa toxal léegi ñu ngi fu soree leen day dem di fa tibbee si suuf te foofu tam lu mu yàgg di moo yaa ngee tibb si tefes bi rek géej bi mu ngi gën a ñëw si sa kanam kon jot na pour ñu am façon yi compagnie yi nga xam ne dina amaala njëriñ si géej bi comme ni nga ko waxee dina mën a gas géej bi génnee suuf bi ba pare loolu dina mën a créer tam ay jën gën fa mën a juddoo parce que lim laa boor bu ñu nekk ñoom bëriwul gaal yi fa taxaw loolu tam isolé si bu ko fële la gaal yi gën a nekk lan moo koos boor boobu noonu gaal yi dañ fa dee nekk mu ngi la ko expliqué mais bi suuf bi dafa bari kon suñu amee factory bu mel noonu muy war a ñëw employés mel ni Gambiens moom ko mu ñëw yombal liggéey bi yombal suuf bi loolu suñ si amee mel ni gis nañ ne dina am solo bu baax kon nag fii réew mi fii luy nekk problème mooy ne dañ dee dabul lool interest yi 10 people den yaaxa interest yi téeméeri junne nit wala 100,000 people te loolu moo tax bàyyi xel la dégg ne sax sa biir laajte tam laajte na ko pour yan loraange la mun a indil géej gi ndax am na ko goo mën a dañ ñëw rek toog foofu government moo leen jox foofu noonu moo tax question bi nekk bu ñu ko laaj noonu nekk na lu am solo te am naa yaakaar ne tan National Environment Agency am nañ responsibility si ñi war a dem xool seen toogaay foofu ndax am na benn lor bu moo indil géej gi au not comme que ñoom dinañ fa ñëw comme que government moo leen jox foofu ñoom foog ñu dugal si parce que ñoom ñoo responsible jaawo ji ak jéeri ji ak géej gi lu nga xam ne ni lu ko indil yaaxa kon ñoom balaa ñoo toog foofu xam naa ne National Environment Agency dem na fa seet ko benn nangutoo ne loolu du am benn lor pour seen compagnie bi toog fa mu daal di ñëw waaye nekk na lu nga xam ne comme ni mu la ko waxee bu ñoo ñëw si taw su ñëwee ren si sin julli pour nga am suuf daf dee jëfeñ because su boobaa moto yi bëri den dee paan because moto yi ni ñu dee jëlee suuf foofu dafa métti seen machine yi si leen dee tase ba fi wàccee type bu ees soo moytu balaa 1 year fekk tas na because force la day génnee foofu noonu soo loolu beneen problème la soo moo tax bëgg neen soo mel ni compagnie si mel nii mu yaatu because comme noo ko waxee bi ñoo dugga si lu nekk dafa cost fii si Gambie lu nekk dafa seer te seer bi dafa gën a nekk di jëm kanam si lu nekk nag anything soo loolu nag dafa jot léegi nguur gi di dooleel doomi réew mi pour ñuy ubbi compagnie yi mel nii gis nga nu mu amee si suuf bi war nañ ko amee tam si xeer yi ndee defaree tali xeer yi nga xam ne si yooyu tam leen dee concrété loolu yëpp dina gën a yombal askan wi seen biir waaye suñ buggee dépend si lu nekk rek ñoom ñu ko jëgaan yi dafa métti ifin dañ koo suuf bi fii la nekk waaye xeer bi ñuul bi yàlla seetul ko Gambie waaye mun neen am compagnie bu nga xam ne bu si investé dina gën a yomb te boo ko soxlaa dina gën a mën a am because bu nu mu dee jógee si yeneen réew di ñëw coono yi daf si bari te lu si laxasu dafa bari because ñun soxla ne dangaa gis mais bi niñ koo jëndee foofu comme mun ko waxee Kevin o Tenville bi ñeneen ñi mun nañ koo jëlee noonu ñëw am neneen nuñ ko wàññee sol si ay lifin soo loolu yëpp dafa métti suñu amee compagnie bi fii mu koo jëlee si any country mu ñëw waaye price bi gën a wàcc si askan bi dina baax parce que nag nit ñi duñ fanaan si biti si ay tabax la ñoo te loolu tabax suuf ak xeer ñoo koy def soo loolu nag bu ñu amee compagnie bu nga xam ne comme bu mel ni bu Mr Banque bi ñëw na employ ay nit. In fact loolu is very important.
Okay.
Secondly price bi wàccee na ko ba mu gën a yomba ni comme yeneen yi nga xam ne ni ñun leen koo jëlee si suñu tefes
te ñu ne dañ koo maintain.
dañ koo maintain so loolu is very important. employé nit ñi si income bu si nit ñi di am rek ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi faa liggéey xëy weer de ñu dem dundee loolu am na solo parce que lu 20 people si starting bi employé nañ ko fa soo ñun support nañ lu ñoo wax rek mooy ne buñ ne waaw suuf bi dafa nangam wala compagnie bi nangam non téeméeri nit mun nañ see bénéfice waaye bu ñu yaaxa bénéfice téeméeri nit
foofu laa bëgg a ñëwee ak Mr. Mane sax because oftentimes Mr. Mane if you start newly I mean you tend to do things cheaply, accessibility, and for promotional stuff. I mean, people will tend to come and then all that. You're looking for customers, but then few months or few years down the line, you tend to change the mode of business. Is that something that we are expecting from Sinolab or Sino Majilac?
No, because the reason why I'm saying that is that this is a Gambian-owned company.
Okay. And
from day one, our processes have always been really at the core of everything we've done. You have what is a social responsibility, because we care deeply about our country. He even talked about the Environmental Protection Agency, the NEA. We went through a very vigorous, impact assessment process, and a very, very vigorous one. Everything was looked at, all the I's are dotted, all the T's cut, you name it. We've been through all that before we could even start the operations. Now, the other thing is when we first went to that place, there were women who used to do rice cultivation in that place. What did we do? Instead of just coming in, they don't own the place. We bought the land. We could just say, look, this is our land. Leave the place. But we said, no, that's not, even though we can, but we shouldn't. So we sat down with them and said, how much rice do you guys have here? They said, so many bags of rice every year. We said, okay, good. Go home, go do other things. Every year we'll give you that amount of bags of rice for free. Yeah. So every year we give it.
That's a pledge from Sino Majilac to the women.
To the women, and we've been carrying that pledge out. In fact, recently, even iAfrica covered one of the events where we literally gave them the bags of rice that they are due to them this year. That's already been given. Exactly, annually. And so this is going to continue. So this is how we approach business, because we are Gambians. We want to make sure that when we do these things, we also think about our country and the impact our actions are taking on the country. Because you have to remember, Sino Majilac came out of the Faraba incident. When that incident took place was when the proprietors of the company sat down and said, we can do better. We can have something that's going to be better, and yet it makes business sense. It's both environmentally safe, it's economically viable, and socially responsible. These are our core principles. So talking about the price, this price is going to remain the same for a good, long, foreseeable future. I don't know what's going to happen. I can assure you, if that's ever going to happen, it's not going to happen anytime soon. I can only see the price going down.
We will
Absolutely, you can
hold
our feet to the fire
and know what actually your prices are.
Hold our feet to the fire, because one of the and it's good you asked that question too, because one of the things that especially the truck drivers were raising, and that is, well, when we go to the quarry, this is how much they give it to us for, and we are like, hold on. When you come to us, when we get this, because the government. The Gambia government has a share in this company. They have a stake in it. So that $650 that you are buying for per cubic meter.
How much are we talking about here? That's a very important point.
Well, I don't want to go into the numbers, but...
All right. But you know that you're partnering with the Gambia.
No, it's not a partnership.
But they have a share in
when I say share, meaning if you anytime you take out natural resource of any country, you have to pay what some call it royalties.
Royalties to the government.
Whatever you call it. So that's what I meant.
So it's royalties.
Yes.
All
so
right.
I didn't mean they didn't invest in it or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just when you take a natural resource, you have to literally pay for it. So we pay geology. Geology has a share in this. NEA has a share in it. GRA has a share in it. So every truck trip that you will look at, or every cubic meter for that matter, all these entities have their share in this thing. So, and this is why we keep telling them, look, at the end of the day, this is a national project. Okay. The country is benefiting, we are benefiting, all of us are benefiting, and yet we want to be able to make sure that we keep the price where it needs to be. So hopefully all the truck drivers will also become part of that journey, and because this works for them. Currently, their trucks always get messed up very quickly.
So do you have your own trucks? Or?
Yes, we do.
All right.
We have our own trucks.
That will not affect the businesses of other truck drivers?
That's why we are encouraging the truck drivers to all come and join us.
Okay.
Because, we want to make sure that they are part of this effort. If they come, they make their money, we make our money. At the end of the day, everybody benefits and the country benefits, and we all go home. This is supposed to be a win-win for everybody.
Win-win situation.
Yes.
All right, that will take me to my last question with you, because we are running out of time. Like the issue of decentralization in the Gambia, oftentimes business is only centered around the Greater Banjul areas. Are you thinking of taking this initiative maybe to Basse?
Yes, this is just the beginning. Okay. If at all, because this is just the first rollout. Once, not only even sand dredging alone. Okay. Sino Majilak Jalbak is looking at a whole lot of different sectors of this country with a view to, again, providing solutions, because the whole idea at the end of the day is to look at what are the things that this country lacks. What are the areas that we need to come in and support? What are the commodities that we can do for ourselves and not having to go and rely on other countries or people outside? All those things, what do we need? Food sufficiency, do we have it? No. How do we help mitigate that? A whole lot of different sectors this company is looking at. And you probably will hear more from us in other sectors someday, I don't know when, because all these ideas are being bounced around. But I'm just saying that the goal is to make sure that our activities gets to affect the whole entire country. So if we get successful here, we might look at, for instance, Basse, and maybe if there is a deposit of sand over there that the few folks in Basse really need, and we are not going to cause any problems as far as doing it over there, by all means, we'll go there and do what we have to do in Jarasoma, in Badibus, and in Kiangs, everywhere. And like I said, in all other sectors, this is something that we intend to do. So the rainy season is coming. We are urging people to give our guys a call. It's very simple, the AfriCell number, which is 277-7753. And when they call that number, they should be able to get our agents. And
repeat the number so that our audience can get the number clearly.
277-7753. So it's 277-7753. All
right.
If they call that number, our guys are on start. The agents are there because the way we are doing this, we are trying to do it as professionally as possible, so that it's organized, so that truck owners know how many trips they have made. Some accountability can be in place, because since this is also other institutions have a stake in it, they know all of them, the numbers are going to be there to speak for everybody. So, to speak for themselves.
Mr. Bankamane, the Public Relations Officer of Sino Majilak Jalbak, thank you so very much for coming on the Good Morning Africa program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the Public Relations Officer of the Sino Majilak Jalbak company, which is a mining company or dredging company in the Gambia here, which is, geared towards mining in this Gambia without causing any environmental damages in the country. With that, we move on because time is not on our side. Quickly, we look at these issues of the NAMs that were sacked in the country here. To talk about that. But before then, Nyang, ñu dem si IEC rek, guy, understand na guy, then you release guy their provisional, statistics for the voter registration. Te fum neka ni guy, dañu register nit yu bari over 180,000 people lañu register. Te nit yooyu noonu this time around tamit jigéen ñi ñoo gën a bari. So nga wax ñu si loolu rek si tënka rek because time fu mu nekk nii daal ñu ngi daw.
waaw comme noo ko waxee rek am na solo xayma bi nga xam naa ëpp na li nga si ñettali semaine bi that week bi am na solo bu baax si li nga xam ne ni lifin bi génne na si loolu lu am solo la because lim bi am na solo waaye jigéen ñi si ëpp ba léegi kon jigéen ñi léegi nag ñu ngi doon laajte lan moo tax ñi ëpp si
jigéen ñi daal fu mu nekk
dañ gën a am dañ gën a farlu wala daal comme naka la daal loolu la gars yi
daal ñu ngi dominate de depuis the first second ba léegi third week bi ñoo nekk di dominate because fu mu nekk nii sa IEC guys seen voter registration bi this time around is 180,672 nit ñoo register this time around te plus tamit si ñu register out of that number 103,367 are women. So only 77,307 ñoo nekk male. So mu nekk loo xam ne figure bi the difference is very huge. So jigéen ñi ñu ngi dominé daal.
waaw mun naa am tam xam nga lu ëpp si askan bi rek su xëccoo ñëwee mu feeñ mun na am tam jigéen ñi suñu li nga wax ne ñoo ëpp si askan bi fii si Gambia. soo mun na am loolu waaye daal ñoo wonee gum farlu ak ndaw ñi am na solo bu baax a baax xayma bu génn. daanaka am nañ 500,000. so maybe balaa fii on the 11 July suñu amaatee lu mel noonu dafa mel ni taget bu ay si dinañ ko am kon nekk na lu nga xam ne lu am solo la di gën a ñaax askan bi rek ñu dem because lii seen wareef la seen àqal ak seen yelleef ñoom ñoo ko moom because looloo tax ñu jël millions of dollars spend ko si lii loolu nag comme que loolu jël nañ ko def ko si askan bi tam lu leen war dañ ci war a dem amul line bi dafa sori dafa nangam leen dem rek line jot seen register dem toog si élection bi jotee ku nekk dem sànnil ki nga bëgg a sànnil so loolu ku nekkal daf la war wareef la ci ku nekk pour nga dem uti lii waaw
am na solo trop te ñaan comme lu ñu observe moo nekk ne time boobu noonu gars yi duñ doon publish lu nekk comme area si waaye this time around dañ publish
yeah boo da ngaa gis Banjul administration Brikama administration yëpp li mu ngi fa mu am solo bu baax te loolu dafaa dimbale nit ñi dafaa dimbale nit ñi bi si élection ba di nga mun a xam da ngaa xool fiigo si nangam ñoo fi registré woon so da ngaa gis leneen li si nekk rek lu nekkul yoon rek foofu nga koy xamee bu ko already dinañ xam ne on the 11 dinañ xam Banjul administration ñaata moo fa nekk Banjul si boppam ñëwaat Kanifing ñëw Brikama noonu la ba CRR bi yëpp Makati Basse so it's very important ni ñu ko doxalee nii this year te da ngaa gis ne mais bi si yooyu noonu yëpp su paree itam dina dem ba di nga am dëkk bu nekk sax ñaata moo fa nekk loolu dina yombal mbir mi suñu àggee si élection bi
war na moo am because it's accountability and people ought to be accountable for what they are doing te lii dina jàppale ñu bari for instance comme noo ko waxee rek ba si election bi comme December elections and then ñi ñu gis ne comme maybe 10,000 ñoo register in the Kanifing in the area for instance but buñ ñu vote si ñu gis ne 11 or 12,000 ñi ñoo xam ne ñoo vote foofu noonu comme façon yooyu noonu
da nga xam ne am na lu
raise an alarm comme ñi di wax ne ñi ñoo register fii de how come ne 2,000 more people dañ vote in this area what happened all these things dina nekk loo xam ne daal dina jàppale ñi pour ñu mun a held a free fair and transparent elections te am na solo torop ñaan
loolu am na ba pare itam suñ ñi jigéenu ñëw sànni si carte tam di nga ko mën a xam si loolu bu ko su register comme exemple 10,000 Kanifing administration so ñu gis ne 7,000 ñoo foon au vote da ngaa gis ne kon 3,000 ñëw so lan moo waral loolu so loolu yëpp bokk na si dina yombal xayma bi su boobaa ak compte beeg yëpp si bis ba incha allah waaw
dañ bëggoon na ñëw with the naam si yuñ saat but I don't think we have time for that comme GDC fu mu nekk nii si tënka rek gars yi dañ sack 2 of their National Assembly members te fu mu nekk nii GDC buñ desee si National Assembly bi moo nekk ñaari national député rek lañ fu mu nekk nii yooyu rek lañ desee si National Assembly bi because dañ daaxa 2 of their National Assembly members si tënka rek
dañ leen daaxa wala dañ dem
dañ leen daaxa dañ leen génne si parti bi seen parti bi but comme in this case duñ mun a ñàkk gaay seen sit bi at the National Assembly level for now loolu lañ xamaangum but fu mu nekk nii si parti bi moom génne nañ fa
well loolu am solo la waaye am nga député askan bi ñoo la yóbbu foofu noonu te askan bi dafa am loo digge wante woon ak ñoom jamono yi nga xam ne yow yaa ngi ut sa gox bi den askan boobu nag da nga leen war a taxaw sa julde li nga demoon dig leen wax leen ko saa yu soo demee si parlement bi da nga leen war a difen dégg leen fa waaye warloo faa xool interest si parti war ngaa xool askan bi seen interest nga difen ko fa loolu am na waaye nag ñun député fii moom léegi askan bi yaa nañ seen tur trop parce que ñi si bari ñu ngi wax ne ñi xaalis
NPP supporters
waaw xaalis leen
loolu moo tax sa GDC ñu daaxagaay because ñu ne fu mu nekk nii ñooñu NPP moo nekk président Barrow party am bi sympathiser supporter yi lañ si NPP party bi te fu mu nekk nii comme démocratie bi buñ nekk di oote ñeneen yi ñu bari ñu ngi wax ne anamu indi party level gis nañ ne UDP def nañ the same thing GDC léegi tamit def na the same thing te National Assembly members yi sax yuñ daaxa from the party gaa ñu ngi wax ne Mama Kandeh fu mu nekk nii dictator la you know and all that so loolu daal comme ñu bari ñu ngi dañ ko mën a analyse in different aspects and perspective comme niñ ko gisee rek waaye lu gën a am solo rek moo nekk ne this is a democratic country ku nekk daal am nga your right pour nga bokka foo munti bokka foo bugg a bokka rek am nga right bi pour bokka foofu noonu mu ne am solo trop te ñu bari tamit ñu ngi raise the concern ne fu mu nekk ne this is an election year comme December 4 GDC luñ daaxee naam si whether loolu do affect guys come December 4th ñu bari ñu ngi raise those issues because those National Assembly members they have a huge followership in their various constituencies so whether loolu noonu tamit do disturb do affect guy in the coming December presidential elections and subsequent elections loolu is a matter of matter of time loolu daal
waaw xam nga politique
lan mooy happen
si jamono politique leen nekk
yow lan moo nekk sa slogan bi sax si politique sax
duy biir day xëy rek wasin so léegi li problème bu mooy ne loolu yëpp mun naa bëgg jamono politique leen nekk parti bu si nekk dajale nga dee bëgg a def génnee moom kenn bëggul koo def waaye itam nañ dee jiital njëriñi askan bi ak njëriñi réew mi bañ a jiital rek intérêt xaalis wala intérêt si parti bi foog nga jiital ñi la fa yóbbu lu tax ñi yóbbu la fa loolu da nga ko war a jiital di wax ne ñu bari tam dañ de wax ne julde politique fii rek la am loolu wax bu yàqu la de because da nga dem am loo diggante ak askan bi am loo leen promise na di nga dem si penc ndaw yi réew mi di fa wax seen soxla di ko fa difen ñooñu sànnil la nga ñëw defuloo ko fa waaye sa bët nga teg ko si xool xaalis wala sa bët nga teg ko si parti bu la jox xaalis yow or nga askan boobu da nga fa ne or askan boobu àddina rek la mooy am non because yaa leen or ñu nekkoon si naaj bi di rang di dox di wax ba pare nga ne dangay taxaw seen soxla yow nga dem fa taxaw sa soxla taxaw sa poos so or nga askan boobu tegoon la fa number one te li si bëri si néegi député yi loolu leen fa dee def seen interest si poos wala seen njëriñ daal ak seen njëriñu njaboot waaye fàtte neen askan bi nga xam ne ñoo leen fa yóbboon loolu nag bor la boo xam ne nii ku foog ne àdduna fii la yam yaa ngeen nax sa bopp parce que yow yaa leen wax lu tax ñu yóbbu la fa waaye very rare pour nga gis ku génn si parti bi dem fekki beneen parti ngir taxaw sa interest yi ñi nga xam ne ñoo la fa yóbbu yow sa interest number one because ñu bëri da ngaa dégg ne jox nañ leen oto jox nañ leen xaalis soo lu ñu si bëri loolu ngaa dégg ndax kooku ndax goxam la interest yi goxam moo tax mu génn fa non seen own interest soo nga ne nag loolu àdduna lay am da nga koo def pour yow sa poche fees yaag sa njaboot waaye fàtte nga ñi nga xam ne nii ñoom nga jël seen kaddu ñooñu jël seen kaddu def ko si box bi tey mu yóbbu la fa waaye xalaatuloo ñooñu gisuñ député bu ñu fi daax bigoo sob dafa nekk di defend wala di wut interest yi askanam goxam bu ko fal mu yóbbu ko non lu ñu dee gis always interest am self interest bi moo fa gën according to parti yi lu ñu dee wax loolu ak lu ñu dee gis tam because si bari da ngaa dégg dem nañ fekk diw jox nañ leen nangam jox nañ leen nangam so loolu moo si nekk because lii problème bi ne leen askan bi yitteel but not parti bi o bii ak boobale ñi leen fa yóbbu ne leen steel ne leen yitteel loolu moo gën a nekk lu gën a important.
solo torop jërëjëf Momodou Nyang Ballo for your time am na solo torop fii yokka nga flavor si programme bi jërëjëf for your time.
waaw jërëjëf ma ajaratu Julde Ndiaye Suwaare yaay Ibrahima.
Thank you so very much. That's my comrade there, Momodou Nyang Ballo. Thank you so much for coming on the Good Morning Africa program. With that, we have come to the end of the program. What we were talking is the, removal of two National Assembly members, the National Assembly member for Jara Central and Jokadu constituencies, respectively by the Gambia Moral Democratic Congress, which is GDC, and we will bring you more of that for in the Good Morning Africa program. Like that iAfrica TV, we are very blunt. Whatever we start, we want to go to the tail end of everything that we start. We heard from the side of the the National Assembly members. Now we will hear from the side of the the party representative. Probably we will bring back MC Cham Jr. to talk to us about the happenings at the GDC. With that, we thank you so very much for the pleasure of your company, and we say bye-bye. Do have a nice day.